What's up everybody, it's Benjamin here bringing you another LEGO video with today a museum tour where we'll take a look at the development of the LEGO brick throughout the years. If you're interested in the development of the LEGO company itself, I highly recommend checking out the How It All Started video on their official YouTube channel. For now, I will take a look at how the bricks and sets evolved over the years, from the first 2x4 brick all the way to the more modern parts and sets. And obviously I will not include every step because so much has changed over the past decades. Instead I will mainly focus on the timeline that I photographed at the LEGO Museum at a previous edition of LEGO World. And then I'll add some images here and there. So if you like vintage LEGO and you want to embark on a nostalgic journey with me, stick around because here we go. As mentioned, we start with the 2x4 brick released in 1949 as the automatic binding brick, which was later turned into the system of play, or the system as we know it today. The idea of course being that you could build anything you wanted by stacking various bricks on top of one another. The term binding had to be used loosely though, because at the early days the bricks had no clutch power because they were hollow on the underside, so you couldn't pick up your model or move it around without it falling apart. To complement town plans, LEGO also introduced pre-molded cars and trees and later on the window elements. And here's one of the reasons why I like looking at vintage LEGO books so much, because it's not just about the bricks that change, but it's also about the people and the world they live in. Just compare the advertisement from then and now. We have different clothing, different hairstyles, real life LEGO models too. Whereas now we get a lot of plain and rendered stuff. I think it's impossible to deny that the old instructions and boxes really had their own charm compared to today. In 1958 the 2x4 brick turned into the one we have today when they added bottom tubes. And this was a great improvement because it gave the bricks clutch power, resulting in a much more robust structure. 1958 also saw the introduction of slopes for more realistic roofs. Wheels came in 1962, with a fun fact being that LEGO is technically the largest tire manufacturer in the world now. Plates followed in 1963, allowing for a smoother transition in height, with 3 stacked plates having the same height as one brick. Then in 1966 came the first ever LEGO train. And again, fascinating to see how far those have come, from this set, to the monorails, to 9V, to the trains we have today. And here's something that really surprised me, the introduction of Duplo in 1969. No idea those were that old. Certainly not only for toddlers though, because LEGO made it so that the standard 2x4 and Duplo brick can actually be combined, which is a great way to create hills or elevated platforms on a budget where 1 2x4 Duplo equals 8 2x4 bricks. 1970 came with the first gears, definitely a stepping stone towards LEGO Technic. We can already see the impression there with the car chassis set from 1977, the birth year of LEGO Technic. In 1974, LEGO did one of the first attempts at creating figures, which at this point were basically bricks combined with a specially molded head. The minifigure as we know them today didn't come out until 1978, still quite some time ago. On a side note, over the years LEGO has experimented a lot with figures. Some decent, others rather crude and clunky, and a few just scary. I particularly remember the large Technic figures, but you also had Fabuland, some dolls, and later on Jack, Stone and Galador, both of which were omitted from this timeline and the museum altogether, which I can understand given how unpopular they were. 1978 didn't just bring minifigures, we also saw the creation of the themes town, castle and space, all of which are still very much appreciated to this day. I think these brick-built horses deserve a special mention because this year in 2025 we get the medieval Horse Knight castle, which also comes with brick-built horses, a nice throwback to the good old days. 1980 gets an honorable mention as well for the addition of shock breakers to the LEGO Technic palette, same with the introduction of pneumatics in 1984. A very old system but still much relevant today, though back then they only had one inlet on the pistons. And then in 1986 something special happened, a combination of plates with metal contacts as a way to connect a power source to lights or motors without requiring a whole lot of cables. A unique system that was essentially used all the way up until the discontinuation of power functions in 2019. In 1989 came another highly popular theme named Pirates, with classics such as the Black Seas Barracuda. And with this edition LEGO was now entering what some consider to be its golden age, certainly of classic LEGO. Between the late 80s and late 90s we saw a huge spike in classic sets. Existing themes were expanded with sub-themes such as Blacktron, Ice Planet and Explorians for space. Castle gained many factions including my personal favorite, the Dragon Knights in 1993, with the introduction of this epic green dragon. But apart from sub-themes we also got new themes like Adventurers and Rock Raiders. A fun fact is that many of the classic sets got official remakes or tributes over the past few years, although Rock Raiders does seem to be falling behind a bit. Along the way in 1997 LEGO added fiber optics to some of the models, the Technic Space Shuttle immediately comes to my mind, Fantastic set and an excellent example of just how much they were able to do with the limited palette back in the day. I honestly feel like some of the older Technic sets are better than the ones from nowadays, because they had less parts to work with back then, yet they incorporated a ton of functions, sometimes even more than today. A notable work of art is the AirTag claw rig from 1992. Even more functions became available in 1998 with the introduction of the RCX brick, otherwise known as the Robot Command Explorer brick, a clear precursor to LEGO Mindstorms where you could program a robot and have it perform all kinds of tasks. Heading into the zeros we arrive in a time where desktops are more widespread than ever before. And LEGO was certainly trying to increase its digital presence by releasing a lot of video games, many of which are great fun even to this day. A few examples include LEGO Chess, LEGO Racers 1 and 2, LEGO Alpha Team, Rock Raiders and Stunt Rally. In the year 2000, LEGO also tried physical games such as soccer and basketball. I still remember the odd faces on the basketball minifigures. A year before that, the first LEGO Star Wars that saw the light of day, certainly a very profitable theme, even still, but it does come with a problem, namely licensing fees, and later on a lack of new movies. During the turn of the century, LEGO tried many new things to reinvent the brand, expanding far beyond the system brick from before. Failed experiments like the aforementioned Galador, Snap and Jack Stone, along with an excessively large palette of parts and colors, eventually led them into financial trouble. Fortunately, salvation came in the form of Bionicle, with nearly a decade full of sets and epic stories across books, comics, movies, games and real-life items. All in all, it was a true example of the power of storytelling and definitely laid the groundwork for some other themes. I was a bit disappointed that Tower was the only mention of Bionicle in this timeline, but then again, Bionicle honestly deserves its own timeline and museum. Moving on, we find Clickits. The premise of these was simple. You had a bracelet on which you could add all kinds of details. There were hearts and flowers and gems to create your own designs. It was also one of the earliest attempts of LEGO to make it more appealing to the female demographic. Next up is something that I never knew existed until I walked past this timeline. Quattro bricks, which are essentially upscaled Duplo bricks. I do believe these are compatible with Duplo, though I'm not 100% sure. What I can tell is that Quattro bricks are 8 times larger than Duplo bricks, and therefore 64 times larger than the standard 2x4 brick. Next up are the X-Pods, of which I still have a few stored in the attic. They were small sets you could put in your pocket that contained roughly 40 parts, allowing you to create some small builds. Interestingly enough, the set sometimes used a plastic container as part of the build, though it does make you wonder if it was really worth all the plastic. Overall, the idea of bringing LEGO with you was kinda gimmicky, and you certainly needed big pockets to house the sets. But still, they were very cheap, and the neat thing was that you could combine them with one another. Let's move along to 2006. With more fiber optics, this time included in the Exoforce line, though it definitely wasn't as spectacular as before. I remember having one in the Fire Vulture where it was hard to activate and only lit up the end part of the hose. There really wasn't all that much to it. That set does come with an epic flamethrower though. More technology came in the form of Mindstorms NXT, the sequel to the RCX bricks from before. A lot more options and sensors and whatnot, now with programming blocks, something that is still used to this day with the LEGO educational themes. In 2010 we entered a new playing field with a large amount of board games. Now board games were nothing new in LEGO. In fact, the earliest one I recall was from 1999 titled LEGO Creator. But this time LEGO went all out. The games were fun, but the problem I have with them is that you have to leave them intact to be able to play the game, which kind of defeats the purpose of them being LEGO and designed to be taken apart and built something else with. Not to mention that you can create a lot of the games with pieces you may already own, and at that point it really only becomes about the instructions. Perhaps that's the reason these are no longer around in stores. 2011 was the birth year of another epic LEGO story, Ninjago. The original sets absolutely give me nostalgic feelings of the good old days. I remember checking them out in stores and eventually buying one or two. It's crazy to think that's so long ago. The same goes for LEGO Friends, that was released in 2012. And then was the first LEGO movie in 2014. 2015 is kind of when my dark age of LEGO began. I never fully got out of it, but I certainly was less interested in it up until 2020. And of course this whole video is but a glimpse of all that is out there, but I hope I was able to trigger some happy memories regardless of which time period you grew up in. Feel free to leave your favorite theme or set in the comments below. For now I'm going to leave you with some bonus footage. I want to thank you very much for watching and hope to see you next time when a new idea washes up on the shore of a golden beach.